Hello and welcome to a new car service video. In today's video we are tackling the car's yearly maintenance, including an oil change, air and oil filter replacement and even changing the spark plugs. But here is the thing, you don't need to change the spark plugs every year. On most modern cars the spark plugs last between 100,000 and 150,000 kilometers depending on your car's manufacturer's recommendations. This video is a shortened version of a full step-by-step guides on each of these services. If you want detailed instructions, check out the full videos linked in the description below. In order to be able to change the air filter, you need to first open up the hood. So in this car, it is located over here. We just pull the tab and we go to the engine department. Then you need to put your hand under the bonnet. Start looking for the small latch that is here, put it up and then lift up the bonnet. To take out the air filter, we have to open the housing over here. In here we got two little taps. It's really easy to take them out. Just pull them on the side and then the other one is right over here. So we push that one on the other side and the whole housing is now loose. I can actually lift this one up. This is the old air filter. This one has got so much debris left in there. It has seen its better days. So we're going to take this one out and replace it with a new one. Before you go ahead and throw out the old air filter, let's open the new one and do the just comparison, side-by-side comparison. See if they're matching. As you can see, it's very similar. Only the sides on this one is slightly different. It's got the silicone siding. But it's going to do the same thing. And do not worry so much about it as how you're going to fit this one, because as you can see, the side of it is quite in a different shape. So there's no way that you're going to be able to put it upside down. All right. So now that we're sure that we got the right air filter, we're just going to lift up the housing, place the air filter underneath. And once it's in the right position, if you wiggle it, it's just going to stay there in good. Now we're just going to carefully place it back in there. There are little taps at the back that you got to aim for them and put them in the right position. And the taps are right here, one in the corner over here. So if I lift it up, push it slightly in, and there is one on the other side, which is quite a dead spot for filming. Once it's there and you shake it, it's just going to be there for good. Now that this part is done, we got to go ahead and carefully first do this one, and then the other one. And there you have it. You have successfully changed the air filter in your own car. Once you open up the hood, you have this type of engine in front of you. Now my car is only an inline 4-cylinder engine, so all I need is 4 spark plugs. Now as you can see, there are 2 bolts here on top of the engine cover. We're just going to go ahead first and undo these 2 bolts. And by doing that, it gives us access to remove the cover for the engine. Now that the cover is removed, we got some bolts on top of each one of these spark plugs for the leads. We got to go ahead and use a number 10 socket and remove every single one of these. And now that they are done, you can just pull them up very simply by wiggling them a little bit and just pulling these out. Now to take the spark plugs out, you will need a special socket such as this one. If you look inside, there is a little rubber part which hooks into the end of the spark plug as you unscrew it, and it takes it out of the housing that we have over here. So once in there, just push it a little bit more. Let it engage to the spark plug at the end. And once you got a secure connection, just go ahead and start undoing the spark plugs. This is the oldest spark plugs that I had, and it says on the side of it what type it is. Here on the new packaging, I have ordered exactly the same type of a spark plug, and in here also it is mentioned that it is the same type. So we're good to go. Just do a visual observation before we go ahead and put this one into the engine bay. So let's take the new one out. do a visual inspection and double check, see if they match. So to put the spark plug back into the engine bay, you just do everything in reverse. You first fit it in, make sure it sits there properly. It's gotta stick in there, not fall down. That way you know that the little elastic part inside is holding the spark plugs. And in with the last one. So now that all of our spark plugs are hand tightened in on top of each cylinder, what you gotta do, you gotta go ahead and find out what is the torque inspections for your particular car. If you don't have one, don't worry so much about it. All you gotta do is just gotta put back your wrench, get a good grip, and start by hand tightening it. Just let it do its thing. Don't over tighten. Once it is almost not budging anymore, that's good. Once it is done, just take it out and carry on with the rest of the spark plugs. So, as I was filming this, I was so into it, and I've never noticed that the battery died on the microphone. This part is going to be a voiceover. After you finish with the spark plugs, you just need to go ahead and put the leads back on. This is pretty straightforward. All you need to be careful, these leads are designated for each uh, different spark plug. So what you need to do, you need to put them into their original place. It's pretty straightforward. The length of the lead is gonna address you where you're gonna put it back, and there is not much into it. Just go one by one, put them back in, make sure that they engage with the end of the spark plug that you have done there. And once they're in there, you can go ahead and start tightening the screws back on top of each one. And that's it. That was the last mechanical thing that you needed to do, apart from putting the engine cover back on. I cleaned this one with a little bit of a water and a little bit of a dishwashing soap, so it looks clean after you go through the hassle of doing all that little parts. It just gives it a better look. Um, you don't need to do anything else at this point. You're done. You have changed the spark plugs by yourself. You have done every single step that was required to do it properly. All we need to do is just putting these little screws for the cap back on, and we are done. The first step that you want to do when you want to change the oil on the car is to jack up the car so it gives you a little bit of a clearance from the ground. Welcome to the belly of the car. So this is the drain plug where you got to drain the oil from this reservoir over here. So now the first thing that I've done, I have placed a reservoir to catch the oil that is going to drain from here. Then you need a number 14 socket, which you're just going to unscrew this one with. Simply hook it up to your wrench spanner. Or if you don't have one, you have an open end one, that's also going to do the job. Just apply a little bit of a pressure at the end of the bolt as you're doing this one. And once you know that it is ready to go, just take it out. So once you go ahead and try to purchase some good quality oil, this is just important to buy this washer. It's not going to cost you a lot, but it's definitely something that you need to consider if you try to do this process by yourself. So we're going to go ahead and put this one back in there. That's good. Then give it a good wipe. Get rid of any mess that is in there. And this one, you don't need to super tighten it. Tighten it with the hand and then get your wrench. Just go very, very slowly. Just like that. And that's it. It should be good. So now that we have put the plug back into its place, if you come slightly further to the front of the car, you will have this one. This is, in this particular model, the oil filter which we got to take out and replace it with a new one. I've now loosened this one up. I placed the oil catcher underneath, and now it is ready to be undo by hand. Just, it's going to make a mess. So you'll be better prepared with a lot of kitchen towels or something to wipe up the mess and have the oil catcher really, really aimed underneath it. So I got the old oil filter out. As you can see, the seal is already stuck in there. That's not so much of a worry. You can simply take it out. I'm only deciding to show you this in case yours is also stuck in there. Make sure that you definitely do this job step by step. Things like this can cause you a little bit of a problem. So just be a little bit extra careful while you're doing jobs like this in order to prevent any damage to your vehicle. So this is the oil filter that I just got out of the car. And if you compare it to the new one that I have, it is missing the O-ring or the seal. A couple of things that you want to make sure before you go and install. The main thing that is very important for us is the top bit. It's got to be obviously the same diameter. If you place them over each other, they fit perfectly. So the diameter is correct. And the way that it screws in is kind of like got the same curve. So that's also good. And the diameter of the hole where it's going to be screwed in is also the same size. On the side it says 3/4 and 3/4. So we're good to go. All right. So now that we have learned how to take this one out, let's place the new one. Just gonna go up there, and we've just lubricated it, so it should be fairly easy for next time if you want to take it out. And we just gonna go ahead and simply by hand start tightening it up. And well, are we at the last part of the process of changing oil in a car? So this part is where the oil is gonna go inside the car. This is also a really good idea to undo this lid or this cap over here once you are draining the oil from underneath the car. Get yourself a funnel. Make sure that the funnel is fairly clean. I also have a little filter in here. I'm just going to place it in here and start pouring oil into the engine. How much oil you might need for your engine is totally depending on the type of engine that you have. This car takes about 4.5 liter, and I have a reservoir for 5 liter. Now, in case you're not changing the oil filter in your car, you will definitely need slightly less oil because some of the oil is always going to stay in your oil filter, and that's what's going to happen. So basically we're just going to fill it up slowly. Don't rush it, let it take it in. And once I'm done with half of the oil in the container, I'm just going to let it sit for a little bit and then top it up again. All right, so now I have fed the engine with enough oil. It took roughly about 4.5. This is the oil indicator for my engine, and there are two little dots in here. What you want to do, you want to be as close as to the top one. That means high and low. So as close as you can get it to the top one, that means you're spot on and you got enough oil in your engine. So that's it. You have successfully managed to service your car by yourself. These are the services that needs to be done at least once a year on your car, apart from the spark plug change, which is obligated every 120,000 kilometers on the petrol engines. I hope this has been informative to you, and thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and like this video if you haven't done so. And stay tuned for more service videos just like this one.